Okay, I'm trying something new for this episode of Director Development because where I record my podcasts, I made the biggest mistake ever. So I record in my bedroom. So one, we can't really do video because if you see me talking, or if it's our other podcast, I Came With Scott Greenlit, where it's me and Nick, if you see us talking, it's just my bed behind me. And not only is it my bed, which is already kind of a little weird, and it just doesn't look like the most professional. You know what I mean? It looks like kind of a low budget shitty podcast, which I'm not gonna say it isn't, but I have my bed behind me. But not only is there a bed, but above the bed, what I think is cool is I have a poster for the first concert I ever went to, which was Arcade Fire was headlining and Spoon was opening. It's a badass fucking lineup. So I have the poster up. It's one of my most like prized possessions. But on the poster, the Arcade Fire guy looks like he's Jesus. Like, I don't know how else to put it. He's got the long hair. He's got this big robe. He has like a Bible open, but like there's like fire coming from the Bible that says Spoon. Like, it's super cool. But if you don't know what it is, I've had people who I've met since moving to LA that have walked into my bedroom and they think I have this giant fucking Jesus poster above my bed. They're like, what the fuck is going on? And then they see the Fruit Loops mirror and the cereal closet and all hell breaks loose. But can't do video. And I have this little desk. So problem number one, no video. Problem number two is I filled my desk with what I thought would be cool shit. So I have like a floating shelf and it's got my diploma on it from Emerson. It's got the 3 Evvies I've won through Greenlit and Your Mama's Pie. It's got a couple other film festival trophies. To the right of the desk, I have a River Fork Community College poster, which was actually in Tales. I have a traffic light that represents Greenlit. And then also near the desk, I have my weight loss tracker. So starting a couple weeks ago, I was like, okay, I'm at a certain number. I want to get to a certain number. I'm giving myself 3 months to do it. So I have all the numbers listed out and I cross them out as I get to the next one. So I'm progressively just like lowering the list. But when I go to sit down and do the podcast, I'm surrounded by all these things and I just get in my head about it. I'm like, fuck, there's no way this random episode of Directing Development is going to be as good as the ones that are hanging right above me. Or I go to write a script. I'm like, fuck, like I got an award for a script up there. How the fuck am I going to top that? So I put all this stuff up that was meant to inspire me, but it's done the polar opposite, where now I hate recording in this room. And I can't even record video because my goddamn Jesus poster. So here's what I'm doing different. This time, all the lights in my room change color. I usually turn all the lights on. I close the curtain. I close the window so there's no sound coming from the outside. And I sit on this crappy little dining room chair that I put together for like $40 that we got off Wayfair. That's usually how I record these things. Today, I'm still sitting on the same chair, curtains closed, but this time all the lights are purple and they're flashing purple. I feel like I'm at a club and it's like the coolest thing ever. So I have flashing purple lights, I have sunglasses on, and I have my eyes closed, even though I have sunglasses on. I couldn't tell you why. But I'm thinking if I just shut off all the really scary distractions, I'll be fine. So this is either going to be the best episode of Director Development or the worst one. But either way, it's going to be a fucking ride. So welcome back. Welcome back to Director Development, the podcast that does not stop until it is announced I'm directing Avengers 9. Not 7, not 5, that spot's taken, Avengers 9. Now, I had someone, a good friend of mine, was listening to the show, which one, a huge mistake, because they already talked to me enough, so it's going to be too much Matthew Pelton, they're going to get sick of me. So they listened to like 5 minutes and then they shut it off, which, so fair. But they're listening to the episode, and she texts me, she's like, hey, I was just listening to Direct Development, like, great job, I listened to 5 minutes and I had to shut it off because you're annoying. But, why Avengers 9? And I'm like, oh shit, did I never explain that? Like, I made the first episode of this show months ago, and we went on a hiatus because LMU was hard. And I'm like, fuck, I don't remember if I explained it. But right now, Avengers 5 and 6 are coming out. You have Doomsday, which is this year, which is crazy. It's December of this year. And then Secret Wars, which I think is scheduled for next year. But there's been very little talk about that, so we'll see if that's still, like, on the agenda. But you have 5 and 6 coming. And then my thinking is, it's going to take a while to get to Avengers level of fame. You know what I mean? Where Marvel's like, we want this guy to do Avengers, like our big crossover movie. So they'll probably get someone else for 7 and 8. Probably also be a 2-parter, like Infinity War and Endgame and Doomsday and Secret Wars. So by the time they get to those, they have someone else do it. We just keep climbing the ranks here. I just keep making episodes, and we come together as a little community. And then boom, Avengers 9, I'm finally at that level. Like I'm at that caliber. And I went to explain it to her, and I explained all of this in a very beautiful voice message, and she never responded, which is fucked up. Avengers 9 is going to be the greatest Avengers movie. She's probably never going to see it. She's not the biggest Marvel fan. Anyway, welcome back to Director and Development. Welcome back specifically to why I chose Emerson College, Part 2. If you don't know, this is Part 2 of a 4-part series. Each part will cover each year I spent at Emerson College. Part 1, my freshman year, which is a very bizarre year because it was the pandemic, is already out on Quaywood Productions. It's also out on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So you can go listen to that. I highly recommend it. I was quite fucking brilliant in that episode. Thank you very much. You can go listen to Part 1. We had a great guest. Today we also have a great guest. I'm very excited to get to Tom. We'll get to him in a second. But this is Part 2. So we are covering sophomore year of Emerson College. Now the way I'm going to do it, because if you listen to Part 1, first of all, thank you very much. Welcome back. But if you listen to Part 1, you know when I first went to Emerson, I was a creative writing major, specifically for poetry. And it's at the end of freshman year that I realized I wanted to switch. So sophomore year is really when we get into filmmaking, and we get into making stuff with Nick. Not just knowing Nick and playing chess with Nick and Nick having a big crush on you, we're actually making movies now. So the way I'm going to split up this episode is sophomore year, we're going to cover the film side, and then we're going to cover all the social stuff that happened. Because I learned a lot sophomore year, and it really sets the stage for junior year, where a lot of shit went down. And I'm not here to kind of like gossip and talk about that. I'm not going to say people's names, but I learned a lot of valuable lessons in terms of friendship. Not like trusting people, that sounds kind of bad, but you know, just a lot of lived experiences through those 4 years at Emerson and stuff I wish I knew going in freshman year. So I do want to talk about it because I think it is worth talking about, but not in a gossipy way. I promise I'm not just going to throw people under the bus and be like, this person sucks, here's their Instagram handle. That'd be fucking crazy.
Hi, my name's Tom Hogan. I'm a writer, director, editor, currently based in LA, and I'm a previous Emerson alum. I wrote and directed 5 short films, including Indulgence and Crunch, which I shouldn't advertise, but I guess that's what that is, and currently working on developing some short films and a TV series alongside my work as a junior trailer editor. So if you're a Tron person, or if you're a Tron fan, or if you had some hand in making any of the Tron movies, please hit me up. My Instagram is Thomas Hogan Film. I have ideas. I know that's very, very vague, but I would love to explore that world. Nonetheless, best point. This is about Emerson, and particularly my experience working with Matt Pelton. It took me a minute to remember exactly how I met Matt Pelton, because I feel like I had known him for a long time, or potentially through Nick Warner, who's his partner through everything, thick and thin. But actually, it turns out I don't think I met Matt Pelton through Nick Warner, which is what I originally thought. I actually met him in my intro to production class. It was the class where I made the short film Benjamins for. We both sat down, not having known each other previously. We just kind of sat down next to each other and kind of gravitated toward our energies. And Matt was a very sociable guy. I think he still is. He's a very extroverted person. And, you know, obviously we just kind of hit it off. We've been friends ever since. He's helped me with some writing questions that I've had, and I've helped him out with Tales of River Fork Community College. I made the posters for that. And I also was sound on a couple scenes, not episodes, but a couple scenes, and that was pretty fun. That was a good time. And yeah, it's been a couple years since we first met, and that's kind of crazy to think about. But I didn't know him for 2 years, right? At least 2 years. I think I met him in my junior year of college. It's so wild to me that Emerson is such a very small college that you feel like everyone knows each other. It's very, very small, and at least in majors you can know each other. But it turns out that it's not as small as you think, even though the campus is non-existent in kind of a block. There are people that you would go your entire life without knowing, or potentially most of your time in college not meeting. I remember when I met Matt in this class, somehow he ended up talking about Nick Warner, and I was like, oh my god, I know him. And I didn't connect the dots. I don't think I knew that they knew each other that well until just kind of it came up randomly, and we just kind of bonded over the fact that we both knew Nick. And that was super crazy to me. It was like, there are definitely people at Emerson where you're like, I don't know how I didn't meet you years ago, but I love knowing you now, and I'm glad that I know you. I'm glad that I got to know you before college wrapped up, and I think that was one of my core experiences. First of all, I want to thank Matt Pelton for inviting me to this. I know it's just very, very random, but I really appreciate being on this show and being able to, contribute, and we get to work together. I think that's very fun. I think Emerson was the first choice for me just because of the freedom that students had to create their own work, and it felt very production oriented rather than studying about the history of film and Citizen Kane and all of that mumbo jumbo. I wasn't really a fan of studying the past. I more so wanted to focus on creating something new in the future and presently, like that. And I think Emerson was one of the only ones that I think had that vibe. And NYU, while they were in the production side, to me, during my tour, it felt like it was more regimented or more historically based than Emerson was. Emerson was more modern, I guess, in their take on it. And plus, I did apply for NYU, and they put me on the wait list until August, and then later on they got back to me in August. They're like, sorry, we can't accept you. And I'm like, yeah, you could have told me that months ago. I already dedicated myself to Emerson. What use, in what world would I need this anymore? But whatever. That's my beef with NYU, but nonetheless, I think Emerson has a lot of freedom in that, and I think that freedom shaped my career as it is right now. Without Emerson's freedom to get people on board with productions, first of all, Emerson has a lot of student productions happening, and that's kind of a core part of it, where you're always going to be doing something, and that's kind of the point of film school. If you're just going to film school to learn about film, you get kicked out of it, and then you're like, okay, well, I haven't actually applied any of this. It's not very practically useful, right? So being on student productions and rising up from being a PA or a grip to a gaffer or a director even, or a producer, there's a learning process that goes with that. And also learning about the equipment as well. I was the tech manager for EIV, and during that time I also got to learn a lot about the equipment that we used, the lighting, and I even got to fix some of it, which felt very good. And I don't think that was something that I could have gotten at Purchase, for example. Well, maybe I could have gotten it at Purchase, but I don't think I would have made as much content as I did at Emerson. And yeah, I think overall my experience at Emerson was very positive. I think the one thing, the double-edged sword of that, the other side of that coin, there is freedom to create. However, the problem is they don't make it very easy to get around that. I really want to highlight a short film that I did called Crunch, which by all accounts should not have happened, right? The way that we got the equipment, for example, that was gotten by lying to a professor about it, and we just managed to get the sign off on it so we could get it for 3 weeks, 3 weekends. Shout out my friend Sawyer for getting that handled. But honestly, without that, we wouldn't have even had the equipment to start. The locations we we ended up shooting this Foley room scene in a closet at the bottom of Piano Row, which was just unlocked that weekend. We went in there, we threw a bunch of fruit at the walls, we trashed the place, we filmed in there, and it turned out really great. But we come back the next day or the next week, and it's locked. So we're like, oh, okay, we were not supposed to be in there, right? We got no location permits for that at all. We just kind of went in there, and whenever anybody asked me if I had permits, I was just like, yeah, but that was very, very stressful. By all accounts, that movie should not exist, and I'm so very glad that it does. And I think that's a testament to Emerson's students, right? Where the community is very creative focused, and Emerson's way of giving out equipment doesn't really make any sense to me, where it's like, okay, well, you need a sign off from a professor to get the equipment in the first place. I'm like, okay, well, even if I got the equipment and I break it, I still have to pay for it, right? I pay for what I break. So what I don't understand is, why do I need to get a sign off, not just from a professor, but a professor that you're in a film production class for? So it has to be for class that you're making this stuff. Why do I even have to do that if I'm going to pay for what I break anyway? Right? I mean, I guess there's just some supply chain issues, but other than that, it just feels like primarily the financial responsibility is on the student rather than anyone else. So why should I even have to go through all of these logistical hoops to even get the equipment in the first place, to create and to advertise your college as a place to make all this creative stuff? So by no way am I saying that Emerson is this incredibly free place you can get equipment whenever you want and you can make stuff whenever you want, because it's not. And I don't think that it really ever will be, unless they really go crazy with it. But by the time I left, it wasn't really going in a very good direction. That's for frickin' sure.
So going into the film program, I didn't quite know what to expect, because you gotta remember, I started off as poetry, so I had no idea how Emerson worked. When I first applied to NYU and Pace, I ironically applied as a film major, because I thought it'd be easier to get into film, and then my plan was to switch into poetry once I got into the school, which worked for Pace. Pace was like, fuck yeah, your films rock, come on in. And then I was gonna be a double agent, and I was gonna switch. NYU didn't want any part of it, which, hey, fair enough. But with Emerson, I applied as creative writing. I got in as creative writing. I didn't think much about film. So when I switched, I didn't know what to expect. But the one biggest thing I learned, starting film classes sophomore year and started creating stuff, is that Emerson, like Tom says, does very much take a modern approach to filmmaking, where, yes, obviously you have your classes where you cover Citizen Kane or the Great Train Robbery, whatever the fuck that movie's called, the moon, the freaking rocket on the moon. Okay, you go through all of that. You hear the term mise en scène about 80 goddamn times a semester. You get all of that, but there is such an emphasis on just go create stuff for classes, create stuff outside of classes, collaborate with people, try things, try being a boom op, try lighting a scene, try running a camera, try shooting on physical film, doing all that stuff. And I was like, oh, this is a really cool approach. Because my worry going into it, to be fully honest with you, is that it'd be a lot of film studies, which I fucking hated. That was one of the first film classes I ever had to take, and it was film studies. It was not about production, nothing. It was about the themes of the scene, the mise en scène, like I said earlier. All the stuff that I really don't like talking about, all in one class. Because to me, the reason I don't like talking about film studies is not that it takes the magic away from it, but a lot of it is yeah, no shit. You can watch a scene from a movie and there's themes about death and brotherhood, right? I'm just throwing out random shit. And you can watch it. To me, there is no need to sit in a classroom and be all right, let's talk about the themes of fatherhood and death and brothership, brotherhood, whatever. How did the movie accomplish that? Let's break it down. Let's just talk about it. Let's dissect it. I don't want to dissect it, because to me, that's magic. And dissecting the magic ruins it. It's almost like figuring out how you do a magic trick. I'd rather just come up with my own magic trick and show it to you, just have your fucking mind blown, and move on. I don't want to sit down and be like, okay, sophomore year, I made the film River Fork, which we'll get into in a second. If I sat down and showed someone River Fork, and they were talking about it, they were giving me their thoughts, which is great, you know, I'm a very ego-driven man, talk about my stuff all you want. But I'm sitting there and I'm talking about it. If they're like, hey, tell me how you shot this scene, and like how you got the theming of this and all of this, like what does this actually mean? Like what's the true interpretation of the ending of River Fork, whatever. I'd be like, oh, no. Like, you figure that out. I don't want to have that conversation. I'll tell you how we did like the cool visual effect, because that was a fun thing to do on set. But in terms of like what it actually all means and what are like the metaphors going on, I don't like to dissect it. Just leave it the way it is. Leave it up to everyone to interpret in their own unique way. Because everyone watching a movie is different. Like, that's the beauty of it. That's the magic of it. So film studies, I was like, fuck this. And I was so nervous. But then I started getting into like film production classes, even editing classes, just putting stuff together in post or coming up with ideas, being on actual sets. And I'm like, oh, this is where it's at. This is the real stuff. Emerson does have an emphasis on creating. Now, I'm not saying it's easy to create stuff at Emerson, but I also like that they did that, because since living in LA, I've lived here for 2 years now. I've made a couple shorts. We have a couple coming out this year on Quaywood, and I've learned that making stuff at Emerson is not easy, but it's also not easy to make outside of Emerson. While it is kind of a weird contradiction of we want you to make stuff, but also to get equipment and all this stuff, it's nearly impossible. And you have to kind of lie and cheat your way into actually filming something, especially if you're going to do it independent like we did for River Fork. They do have it set up like that. But at the same time, it's now almost prep me to be like, okay, now I'm outside of school. I'm outside of Emerson. I go to LMU, but they're even stricter about it, so forget about it. So I'm outside of Emerson. I want to make something. I got to get equipment. But now I know how to do it. So in a way, in a very backwards way, Emerson did kind of teach me how to do that. And I got to give him credit for it. Because with River Fork, it was shot all independent. I've said it before on the show, so I won't get into like a ton of details about the production of it. But we had no script whatsoever. So what we did was we created what I call the River Fork Brain Trust. And it was me, Nick, Jonah, who stars in the project, and a guy named Bobby, who we were friends with at the time. He also was like the DP of the project. I think he colored the project as well. He was like a big creative voice in River Fork. And it was the four of us. And every time we'd get together, be like, okay, what do we want to put in this scene? What kind of jokes do we want? Like, what kind of cool visual effects do we want? And we just all figure out how to do it in the confines of Emerson that they did provide, to be fair. But it was like the most ghetto thing ever. Like, we never applied for a permit, ever. We took the Tom approach of being like, yeah, we have a permit. Don't worry about it. Like, it's all good. We can film here. And we would just film. We would just walk into places and film, which looking back is so crazy. And we could have easily had the cops called on us. We just didn't give a fuck. It was the most like rebellious film set you've ever seen. We would just show up somewhere with props and costumes and cameras and just fucking start filming. And looking back, there's scenes where there's random strangers in the background, which is like such a big no-no because they didn't sign any contracts, nothing. We just shot. We didn't give a shit. It's like the most punk rock thing I've ever done was River Fork. Just this improvised 30-minute comedy. And also we had no budget. Emerson gave us no budget because it was independent. Making your like an independent thing using some Emerson resources, that's kind of the approach we took. But trying to go like, for example, Emerson has a program called like the Emerson Independent Video, EIV. And you can pitch shorts there. They give you a certain amount of budget, and then you present it basically in front of all the film majors so they can be like, hey, I want to work on your project. I'll be a fucking PA. I'll get you coffee. I don't care. Now, if you don't go through EIV because they don't accept everything, and they rejected River Fork, you have to do all that on your own. You have to get the budget yourself. You have to find cast and crew yourself. And that's why we did the Brain Trust, because I was like, listen, it was just COVID. I have like 8 friends. I don't know anyone else. I have no access to money whatsoever. So that's not an option. So we had no budget, no equipment, no permits, no script, nothing. And yet, because of like just the sheer fucking will of that group, that little fucking awesome River Fork Brain Trust, River Fork came together. Like, we shot it, and it was the first time I really learned how to like actually make something, how to create something. And Emerson so pushed for that, even though it was independent. They never really fought us on it. Like, they really supported it. Every professor I showed, I told them I was independent. They're like, wow, good for you. Like, I'll give you feedback next project. If you need equipment, like, I'll help you lie to get equipment. Like, they were so for it. It was such a pro creative environment and a pro creating together environment, even though creating together through the rules was difficult. But they wanted you to go through the ringer, so you know how to do it. Like, they're trying to set you up for your future, which is really cool. And it's one of my favorite things about the Emerson Film Program. So sophomore year, we created River Fork. I started taking film classes, and I kind of learned all of this stuff in one jump. And the biggest takeaway from my professors, from what Emerson told me, from creating River Fork, it's just go create shit. Because all of a sudden, I went from feeling like I didn't belong at Emerson, I didn't really like it here, to, oh my God, like, I love being on set. And I love making stuff and putting it all together. Like, I almost found my purpose through making River Fork, which, looking back, is the dumbest 30-minute video you've probably ever seen.
The community that was in Emerson was one of the best I've ever been a part of. And being outside of that now is a whole nother adventure, right? I think it's a part of being in your 20s where you don't really know what's going on. Everyone kind of doesn't know what's going on, but you personally think that everyone's doing it better than you are, but no one knows what's happening. And especially getting out of the Emerson bubble where everyone was constantly making productions all the time, and you had a way, albeit a slightly sketchy way, of getting equipment. Now there isn't that anymore, and it doesn't come with the service, right? So there isn't a parachute to fall back on or whatnot. And that's been difficult. I think that's difficult for a lot of people, and that's why we kind of see a drop-off in productions once you graduate. And I admit I kind of went for a more studio-based lifestyle, and I absolutely love my job as a trailer editor. I think it's phenomenal, and I'm so honored to be there. But I think also there's a way that I have to learn how to balance the system of working from 10 to 7 and whatnot to going back and writing and trying to get together a cast and a crew and a schedule and everything. And I think it's difficult to get back home and not be like, I'm going to shut down for 2 days, right? Because I'm so tired of working on creatively.
So in terms of sophomore year, the film side was great. Like, I got to make River Fork with Nick. Me and Nick really started to find our rhythm and our groove on how we work together, and that was excellent. I'm really proud of how that short kind of came together, and I think just having that River Fork brain trust and learning all of this film stuff at once, and even though we did it independent, feeling like Emerson still somewhat supported it and had our back through it and almost like respected the fact we were doing it independent was really cool. And I don't think a lot of colleges would be game for that. Like, I think if we went to NYU and NYU had like an actual campus, not like a city campus, and we were just shooting around campus, independent, no permits, nothing, no professor signed on to this, they'd probably be pissed. I think most schools would be. They're like, what are you doing? Like, LMU would be pissed. Don't get me wrong. I love LMU. But LMU would be like, no. Like, you can only do this through classes. Like, you can't just show up. Like, they've had the police get called because LMU students are just shooting on campus just with no permits, and they shut it down. Where Emerson was like, all right, you probably shouldn't be doing that, but like, we'll look the other way. Which is cool, man. They just wanted you to create stuff. So that was the film side of stuff. The social side of stuff was a bit tougher. Now, again, I spent 4 years at Emerson. Freshman year, like I said in part 1, I quite liked my time freshman year. I had a good group of people. I had a great roommate. I met Nick towards the end. I had a great girlfriend, but I never really felt like I fit in. And actually, I referenced this in part 1, but I went back to an old journal of mine that it turns out I also wrote in like once a year. So I have like one entry from May 26, 2021, and the next entry is like August of 2022. So there's just like a full gap missing. But in May of 2021, which is still freshman year for reference, I did write a couple things that in retrospect was like, oh wow, like I was really foreshadowing what's going to happen here. So I wrote, and I quote, Emerson is pooey. Wow, very creative. Not sure if I really fit in. I don't like who I am when I'm there. I also wrote, Emerson is not my home. Trying to re-find myself. And this is kind of like the best way I can describe the group I was in, where even when everything was going fine, I just never really felt like me, like the me I was in high school. I was a very extroverted guy. I didn't really care much what people thought about me. Like, I just had this confidence to me. And then I went to Emerson, and in this group, it's not the group's fault. It was just a dynamic that didn't really work super well. But all that was gone. I was very quiet. I got more shy. Like, naturally, like, if I'm in a conversation with someone I'm very comfortable with, my brain just naturally comes up with jokes and conversations. Like, I like to be a conversationalist, I guess. And this group, it would just be blank. Like, I would be in a conversation, and I knew. I'm like, if this was anyone else, like, I would be coming up with things to say, but I just couldn't. I almost felt like I couldn't get out of my own way, and I was just stuck. I liked all the people in the group. I don't know what it was. Going to sophomore year, that ended up kind of being a big theme of the year, because that progressively got worse. Where freshman year, I was like, all right, these are cool people. I'm having a good time. But like, I feel like I haven't been able to break out of my shell, and I can't be my true self. And I'm like, these people like me, but it's almost like they don't know me super well, because I just can't get out of my own way. It was the weirdest thing. And then going into sophomore year, that got even worse, where I put it in my journal. I need to refine myself. That's what it felt like. I felt like Matthew Pelton, who for a while there was so well defined and so knew himself and loved being around and loved the world and life and people and getting to know people. Like, I just loved all of it. And I wanted to change people's lives with my work, with my films. All that was just slowly vanishing, and I could feel it vanishing. I saw it, and I just didn't know what to do. So sophomore year, I lived with, once again, Jonah, my roommate. This time I lived with Nick, which was a fucking godsend looking back. And there were two other people I lived with, and it was one semester I lived in this suite, and we called it Coketown. Because freshman year, me and Jonah, our room was called Dopetown, and then we had Coketown, and then junior year was Heroin Town. And the whole joke was that senior year, we were going to also live together again, whether it was like an apartment or whatever, and we're going to call it Rehab. And we thought that was the funniest shit ever. Like, Coketown, Dopetown, Heroin Town, Rehab. Like, that's fucking awesome. And then we got to Heroin Town, and ironically, we never made Rehab, which is such a sad fucking ending to that story. But we were in Coketown, and Coketown was the best. Like, when it was just me and those guys, all of a sudden, I felt like my wall coming down. I think especially Nick being there helped. And I was like, oh my God, I feel like I can finally be myself around these people. And even though they think they know me, I feel like they really haven't gotten a chance to get to know me, which is my own fault, but they're finally starting to get to know me. And we would have so much fun in that suite. We'd always hang out together, always watching movies together, always fucking around together. And one of the guys was an RA, so we would do shit just to fuck with them. Like, at the end of the hallway, we would put a dartboard up, and he was like, are you out of your fucking mind? Like, you're gonna throw fucking darts at the dartboard. You're just going to put holes in the wall. You're going to put hundreds of holes in the wall. And he's the RA, so he's going to have to pay for it. So we're like, haha, fuck you. And we just throw darts. Like, it was so wrong. But man, what a great time. And I always remember it because even like Christmas, what roommates do you know that Christmas, they all got gifts for each other? We all went into me and Jonah's room. We all exchanged Christmas gifts. And it was so cute. Like, one of the guys got me a pair of cereal socks, which I still wear to this day. I don't know if he's going to listen to this, but I still wear those socks to this day. Like, it was so nice and just such a good group. Now, the group was not just the 5 of us, unfortunately. It was a group of like 9 or 10. And once again, when it was the whole group, I would just go quiet. And it got way worse. And again, I took it as a personal problem. I didn't take it as I just don't fit in this group. I think I wasn't like, I'm not going to sit here and pretend I'm mature now. I'm 24. I don't know a fucking single thing. But I wasn't mature enough to realize sometimes dynamics just don't work like that. Like, you're not going to click with everyone all the time. I was so used to, no, I'm friends with everyone. Like, let's fucking go. So I took it as, oh, like, I'm the problem here. I'm doing something wrong, which made it only worse. So every time the group got together, I would just be miserable. I was like, get me the fuck out of here as soon as possible. But Jonah, God bless him, the group loved him. So the group was always in our goddamn room. And I was like, dude, get me out of this. Like, this is hell. And I was just, I don't know, I felt like I was just getting buried under this fog and I couldn't escape it. But the second semester, holy shit. Second semester, I did a study abroad and we lived in a castle in the Netherlands. It was awesome. And I went to the castle and I knew one person. Now, the problem with that is the one person I knew was my girlfriend. And we had broken up. So I was going to the castle with my ex and I knew no one else. I knew nobody else. So imagine you're going abroad in the Netherlands with like 100 strangers and your ex-girlfriend. It's like, this is going to be a fucking disaster. This is going to suck. And not only that, in the first like week of being at the castle, we had to be in quarantine to make sure we didn't have COVID. And my ex, she's a journalist, and she put out an article on the Emerson like newsletter. I'm not gonna say what it is because I don't want people to go and find it. But she put out an article about living at a castle with her ex. So everyone was like, oh, who's her ex? And because there's only 100 people, word spread super quick that I was the ex that was being written about. So now all these people that I'm trying to make a first impression with, I'm trying to make new friends, are like, oh, you're that girl's ex that she wrote a fucking article about. I'm like, God damn it. Like, it was the worst start ever. Now, to be fair, the article's very nice. It's not like she trashed me in the article. It's nothing like that. It was just this awkward moment where I'm like, oh, great. That's a great way to start. All these people are like, oh, you're the guy that got broken up with. That's awesome. Like, thanks for that. Thanks a fucking lot. The castle started off kind of rough because of that. But I think a couple things happened. One, I have a very bad sense of wanderlust where like if I don't do something, I get very antsy and I get very bored and I get very depressed. I'm like a very fidgety person. Like, I need to go see something new. I need to go on a hike. I gotta do something. And the beauty of the castle, because it was in the Netherlands, is every weekend you would just go to a new country. So it was like my fucking paradise. Like, I was going to all these new places, just living this crazy life that no one ever gets the opportunity to live. So I'm like, I'm going to live it up large. I went to Luxembourg. I went to Manchester. I went to Venice. I went to Paris. I went to Dublin. Like, I went fucking everywhere. So that was insane. And it just made me so happy. But then I also met these two people. One of them I won't name, but the other one was Allie, who's been a guest on Greenlit, also been a guest on Director and Development. And those two made me realize so much, because the Matthew Chase Pelton that I thought was gone, and I thought it was my fault, that's when I realized, oh no, like, I'm still in here. The person that I like being, like the best version of myself, is still there. And I became friends with this new group, and I was like, oh my God, like, this is what I've been missing. And it all clicked at the castle. And I'm like, oh shit, I'm in the wrong group. And the problem is, when I went back from the castle, living large for 3 months, just living like a lunatic, and just finally being able to be myself again and be free of all this and just breathe. I felt like I could just breathe. Like, I felt so swallowed by Emerson, I could finally breathe. But I was going back, and my roommates were once again people from that group. But now I knew for a fact that I didn't belong in this group. It wasn't a feeling, I knew. And then junior year, all hell breaks loose. The castle was great, but it set up a major problem. Where I'm like, oh, I'm stuck in a group back at Emerson. Again, good people, but I'm stuck in a group that I don't really fit into. I never really fit into, and I now know that as a fact. Like, the version of me that I like to be still exists, but not when I'm there. So what do you do?
I think one of the biggest takeaways that I've had from Emerson that I've used in my career now is there's sort of, well, I think my career as a trailer editor is a little different to what I ended up learning in college. I think while I was in Emerson, I primarily learned a little bit myself when it came to Premiere. But, I think in terms of production, I think I learned a lot. I learned how to format scripts. I learned how to create call sheets, production schedules, scout for locations, just kind of figuring all of that out. And also narratively as well. I think there's a big jump in terms of where I started. I started with a short film called Laces that I did with two of my roommates, Bay and Sawyer, who I'm still good friends with today. So we went from there to now we're kind of reaching even bigger heights, right? I think Sawyer's working on a short currently right now called Playday, which is coming out very, very soon. And I'm very excited to show you guys that because I ended up editing that, which was pretty cool. We were still doing that. And Bay was the star of that. My latest short was called Indulgence, which I was super happy about how that turned out. The cast, the crew were absolutely phenomenal. That was probably the best cast and crew that I've ever worked with. I loved working with all of them. They're all great people. And I hope to work with them again in the future. But also creatively, I think editing-wise, that was really life-changing especially there was this montage in the middle, right? That I just decided to go absolutely crazy with. I think that was one of the best things about editing my own project, was that I really got to sit down and I got to look through the footage and see like, okay, well, what can I do with this? Rather than having to go back and forth in a notes process, which kind of takes a long time, and I don't really know what I have to work with. Well, if I'm just sitting down, I banged that short film out in a week, just editing that thing down, and I was locked in, right, for my BFA class. This is my BFA thesis film, was Indulgence, and the montage in particular I'm super happy with, where I got to just throw everything at the wall. I got to do this letterboxing thing where it slowly gets thinner and thinner and thinner and thinner and thinner as like the music gets darker and drums. I love that kind of stuff, right? And I think that experience of editing that thesis film really stuck with me as an editor today, where I was kind of understanding more about how to use Premiere, first of all, and also how to just get very stylistic with how that worked, and I also got to do a marketing campaign for Indulgence as well, which albeit is not a part of Emerson as well, at least Emerson's curriculum, but nonetheless, that was still a very life-changing experience, and I loved working on that and kind of learning more about it. I will say that Emerson is the regretful reason why I have the job that I have. The only reason that I got the internship at the place where I work is because I was at Emerson. I did the Los Angeles program here, and I think being a part of that program is the reason why I'm here. And as much as I like to bash Emerson for not making it very easy at all to get equipment or to do what my career is supposed to do, I think they helped me a lot in that field, and I couldn't be more thankful for that. And also I couldn't be more thankful for getting me in touch with people like Matt and people like Nick, getting to meet all of these amazing people, and we learn off of each other and we grow off of each other. That's how I got to where I am today. So overall, I think Emerson was a good experience, and I think that was my spiel. And I thank you guys for listening to all of this, or if you did listen to it. It's been a wild ride, and I hope to show you guys more more shorts, more scripts in the future, because I'm cooking. We're gonna figure it out together. Here's to the future.
So to wrap up why I chose Emerson College Part 2, sophomore year. In terms of film stuff, I made a River Fork, I started doing film classes, and I realized how much I love it. And Emerson pushes to create. If you could walk away with one thing, the one main lesson I learned from sophomore year is just go create shit. And even if the system, or whatever system is set up, is kind of fighting you on it, just know it does have your back, man. If you go to Emerson, and you're going to be so mad at Emerson at times, I promise you, you're going to be, Emerson is set to make you fail. They don't want you to create anything. That's not true. They make it hard, but that's almost part of it. Like, they secretly have you, but they just want you to earn it. The best analogy I can give is Emerson is like the music teacher at Storm King, and he fucking rocked. I remember one year going up to him, and this is back when I still wanted to be in a band and wanted to be the lead singer of a band, because I discovered Oasis, I discovered Liam Gallagher. I'm like, I can fucking do that. So I went up to him, and I'm like, listen, I want to be a fucking singer. I can't fucking sing to save my life, so I want singing lessons. And he sat me down. He's like, what kind of band do you want? Because he knew me. He knew my obsession with Oasis. I'm like, come on now. I want to be fucking Liam G, dude. I got to be the main man. I got to do like Oasis, rock and roll. And he's like, well, you can't do singing lessons. I'm like, why? I can't sing. He's like, if you're going to be in a fucking rock band, you're going to be the lead singer in a rock band, you just got to do it. You just got to fucking earn it. You just got to go to that mic and give it all you got. Even if you suck, keep going and learn it on your own. Do it independently. He's like, and I will help you. I will watch the band. I'll do whatever I can, but I'm telling you, you can't do singing lessons. At the time, I was so sad because I'm like, well, there goes that dream. Like, I wanted to sing. But looking back, no. He had my back, and he was right. It's the same thing with Emerson. They want you to create it. Go make your River Fork. Go make your shitty, no script, crazy improv comedy, your crazy ideas. Go make it, because they will help you. They're just going to make you earn it. So in terms of film, sophomore year, it was great. And I realized this is my passion. This is what I was put on earth to fucking do. And I will do this to the day I die. In terms of social stuff, Coketown was amazing. I had a great time with those guys. And the Castle was easily the best semester I had at all of Emerson. If you're going to Emerson, I beg of you to do the Castle program. Go explore Europe. New fucking country every week. Because no one else will have an opportunity like that. So take full advantage of it. Go live large. Go explore. And go find yourself. Because I did. I thought I was lost. I thought the Matthew Pelton that I loved and loved being was gone forever. And he fucking wasn't. And he was buried. And I am so grateful I went to the Castle. Because I now know when I still go through phases where I get depressed and I get really down, obviously. And I get in these funks. But I know that I'm never gone because of the Castle. It does set up a big challenge, though. But we will get into that and why I chose Emerson College Part 3 in 2 weeks. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you, Tom, for being our guest. You were wonderful. I love you dearly. If you want more of me, you can listen to Director Development on Quaywood Productions or anywhere you find your podcast. I also have another podcast with my amazing co-host, Nick Warner, called I Can't Believe This Got Greenlit, which is weekly. So if you want even more of me because you're a fucking lunatic, you can go check that out. Follow Quaywood Productions on all social medias for more, and I will see you in 2 weeks. Not 3, not 1, not even 4. Dos. See ya!
This has been a Quaywood audio production.